Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Byrne? Mr. Legess? Mr. Stauffenberg? Mr. Enns?
Present.
Mr. Tholen? Mr. McConnell? Ms. Polk? Mr. Snipes?
Present.
Mr. Seroy? Mr. Reed? Ms. Peters? Mr. Vassar? We have a quorum.
I have not received anything for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Any public comment? Okay, we'll move forward to the approval of minutes. The only ones that are ready are February 18th of 2016. Take a motion to approve those. Mr. Enns, second by Ms. Polk. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Coroner. In your package you have a copy of the coroner's report and a copy of the income summary report. I'll take a motion to combine those and approve them. Take a motion to combine the reports and approve them. Ms. Peters, second by Mr. McConnell. You have both of them. The income summary and your monthly report. Comments on your report stuff.
Too early. Just going through my summary of my calls in July. As you can see that we had 105 calls, with 19 of them which were coroner calls, and the autopsies were at 7. Outside autopsies from Iroquois are 2, and of course the indigent and the donations and the x-rays. As you go on down the list there, you're going to see that the county is not only in the problems with the drugs, but the fatality rate is extremely high. As of right now, as of today, we're at 17 fatalities in this county, which is unheard of, really. And we're not even through the year yet. No, these are just fatalities. Mixture. We found everything in from the kitchen sink into people that are driving, from heroin to cocaine to a lot of cannabis. In fact, the last one we had was a fatal on a 13-year-old, and he was full of cannabis. 13 years old. So, other than that, like I said, our calls of and especially the autopsies are down a little bit this month here, but they we're right on target for our budget, still right around 55,000 over. So,
Any questions or comments? Mr. Enns.
Yeah, I got a question here.
Pull your mic over, Larry. We got that recording. There we go.
Okay. Cremations, it seems like they're multiplying. We're getting a lot more cremations. What does that permit cost?
$50.
$50?
Mm-hmm.
How long has that permit been $50?
A couple of years, 3 or 4 years.
What I'm getting at, we're getting more and more cremations. I wonder, can that fee be increased?
That fee goes to the coroner's fees. That's the coroner's fees. It does not go to the county.
Increase.
Increase? No,
Yeah.
we just increased it from 10 to 50.
Oh,
So
a
it
couple
hasn't
years
been,
ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah. So that
Okay, I didn't remember.
yeah, that's a good point. That fee went up that high because it hadn't been touched in years and years and years. And there was no problem with raising it.
Okay.
But there is more cremations now than burials.
And you get to keep that fee in-house? See,
That comes into the coroner's fees.
So we need to watch that and make sure that we're keeping up with, keeping that high enough.
I appreciate that.
Could you check and see what other areas are charging and see if we're...
Absolutely, that's a good question, and a good comes with a good answer. As of Monday, I'm leaving for St. Louis for a homicide heroin class that I've got to have my hours in, and that's one of the things we're talking about is the problems.
Okay. Thanks.
Which are listed. Thank you for that.
Mr. Legess.
Bob, is that set by statute, and is there a range?
That is set by statute.
But what's the range? Is 50 the highest, or can you?
That's 50 period. Every cremation.
Oh, it's 50. We're at the max right now?
Right.
Okay. That was my question.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second on the report. All in favor say aye. Say opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
In case you're a little confused on that coroner's fees, that is given to the coroner. It's not even in the county's budget or in there to be able to see it, what it is. It's available at any time. Things that I use on is get the x-ray machines and all that stuff. Right now, as we speak, the morgue is being painted by me. Not by me, by union painters. That's how I don't get in my head.
I wondered who that was when I went by there this morning.
Anyhow, that we use that to it's for forensic stuff, and we constantly are updated. I can't use it for money for personnel at all. Other than that, the only other comment is that I talked to the Eastern Illinois Chiefs yesterday on a problem that's heading our way. It's actually in our county. I've talked to it about many and many times, is the heroin problem. Not only the heroin, now the fentanyl, and now the W18 is getting to be a huge problem. It's right close to us. It's in our area. We're constantly working with KMEG on this. The Narcan that we're using right now, if you use this fentanyl, which is 50 to 100 times more, the problem is dealers don't know what they're getting. They're selling heroin, but it's not really heroin. You don't know that. It could be fentanyl in there. It's 50 to 100 times more powerful, 50 to 80 times more powerful, and the W18 is 50 to 100 times more powerful than the morphine. Our biggest problem is right now that I alerted the people is the dog sniffers that are out there sniffing dogs of heroin and drug problems. If they sniff that stuff, they can get down and it could kill them. Yeah. So I'm going to send out something to alert them. I'm going down to get that information to bring it back to our county. But it's very listening to the Will County coroner. It's very deadly, and it's on our way here, and you're not going to know it. Say we just came from an overdose this morning. So
what is the W18? Is it cut with something different, or?
It's almost like the old LSD. It's cut. It's made in China, moved over to Mexico, and then comes into our area. It goes back, like I said, a little blot like this big right here is poured onto a piece of paper there, and you take that and place that on your tongue. And the problem it is what they're having is, reading the articles, is that where they're pouring that at, maybe the outside edges doesn't have that much, but the inside edges just killed. I read the article on an 18-year-old that just tried it for the first time to get high, and that's the way things are rolling. And it's very difficult to detect. We've talked to our lab, and our lab's going to be able to run this W18, which is a very brand new drug out. They don't know a lot. Your Oxycontin. If anybody's taking Oxycontin, be careful with Oxycontin, because that's mixed in with the new drugs that they're bringing out through Mexico and China, are designed exactly like the Oxycontin, but it's got heroin in it. This is what's coming across our area. We're keeping up on it. We're a small county there, but we do have a lot of overdoses. We've had 6 fentanyl overdoses to 5 heroin right now.
Any questions or comments for the coroner? Ms. Polk.
You tell the teachers.
Pull your mic down, Pat, please.
Do you have any kind of workshop that you could notify teachers of things like this?
Well, Pat, that's one of the things that we're working on right now. Is I got to get out to the people that you don't know who's selling the stuff there, but I mean, this stuff here is really potent, and I'm going to get out to the schools. We've been with them out But we'll be getting contact with all the schools. I think it's something that needs to be brought out, and quickly.
I know so.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for enlightening us.
Yeah.
That's good information. Sheriff. We have a we don't have it up there yet. Go ahead. You got to be-
Good morning. Start today's meeting with a little sales pitch. I just got back from the Illinois Sheriff's Conference down in Springfield, and the Sheriff's Association offers a cookbook called Jailhouse Recipes. They're on sale for $15 for anybody who wants one. And just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with the sheriffs in the state of Illinois, the first recipe I'll read you real quick. Open the lid to the cooler, fill the bottom with some of the ice, fit as much beer in the cooler as you can, add more ice over the top until covered, allow to chill for 30 minutes to an hour. So, anyway.
Sounds like my fishing.
So anybody who would like some of those recipes, and that's the only one that I found that is bad. My wife, this is involved with sheriffs and their spouses, and obviously being appointed on May 10th, we didn't have time to put any recipes in there, so my wife wasn't able to put in reservations as her recipes. So
Reservation. Oh, you're on a roll.
all right.
Moving on to the monthly report.
So, the monthly report. Our out-of-county census has actually, believe it or not, gone up from last month, approximately $40,000. That's a good sign. We have started to get some more federal inmates from the Central District, which is we've been working on for a long time, and credit to the jail staff and Chief Kalawenzu and Chief Schultz for staying on the marshals down in the Central District who are sending us some of theirs. Like I said, it's been a long, hard sell because they do have jails down there that are housing them, but we have started to increase our numbers from the Central District. If this trend continues, which we don't have a reason to think it wouldn't, it would put us at approximately, at the end of the year, revenue of $5.2 million. I know there is some discrepancy between what the finance department has projected and what our numbers projected, $5.5 million. The finance department is projected about $5 million, so that would put us right in the middle of that number. The other thing to keep in mind, though, remember that we turned down 40 2 months ago. That would have put us close to $5.5 million. So when we do these projections, we do have a little bit more insight than what the finance department does because we deal with these people on a daily basis. We do, in a sense, know what we're talking about when we talk about inmates and what's going on and some of the projections. So. If you look, our transports, and I'm glad Tom Latham is here because he can vouch for us. Our transports to River Valley are almost daily to pick up juveniles, bring them to court, bring them back. If there's morning court, and then if there's something else that comes up where we have to go back to River Valley in the afternoon, we go back to River Valley in the afternoon. You know, all of these things with the unknown costs us some overtime, because if we have to leave at 1, 2 o'clock, our afternoon shift isn't there yet, so by the time they go pick them up and get back, they're here for an hour or 2 hours over. So that is something that costs us overtime.
Mr. Enns has a question?
Yeah, Sheriff, and you probably looked into this, but have you ever looked into what the cost would be to do a video appearance like they do from here? Could
I
that
think
save us
they're-
some money, or?
I don't believe you can with juveniles. That's the issue, is that J word.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was going to ask this later, but as long as you're talking about your transports, Tom mentioned it to court services about this bill that's out there to go to 21.
Right.
Do you have any idea how many more transports, if that passes, that you would have to do back and forth? Your range difference from right now to 21?
I don't have specifics, but I know it'll increase significantly.
Do you have any numbers, Tom?
We'd have to look and see what's in custody and,
Yeah, only thing we looked at is, I think it would add for a caseload of individuals currently on adult probation that fall into that age category by about 170 people, just on probation. So when you're talking, detention and other things, it'd be a huge impact.
the other issue with the juveniles and the transports is it takes our staff out of the building. So we are leaving staff short inside a building of 420 people to move juveniles. And we try to limit overtime as much as we can, but there are things that we have to do, that we're required to do, that we have no choice over. So, any questions on that?
If you transport a male juvenile and a female juvenile, you have to have an officer of both genders then?
No,
No?
just two. Just two officers.
I didn't know if
They
you
don't
had-
have to be. no.
Okay.
Any more questions on the jail side?
Mr. McConnell?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, I'm assuming you're going to get to, when you get to staffing and manpower, what that's going to do for the downtown jail?
Something to do with it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If we move down to the sworn side, our traffic citations are actually up slightly. Our calls for service remain consistent. We should show a little bit of an increase in civil process and paper service. There has been a problem that has come to light through actually jury duty. For those of you that don't know, if you get summoned to a jury call and you don't show up, they issue a paper for the deputies to serve. They have to be personally served. So our guys have to go out and serve a paper to somebody who didn't show up for jury duty. That's in addition to the papers we already have that we can't keep up with now. So what happens is we have to personally serve that person. That person comes to court and is basically asked, why didn't you show up for jury duty? If they don't show up to court after they've been served, then they issue a warrant or body attachment, which is basically the same thing. Which then, if they get arrested, then they're coming to jail. There have been times where we've been given 80 to 100 papers at a time to go serve these people to show up for jury duty. And the majority of these cases, of people who don't show up are because they may have moved and the letter got sent to their old address, didn't get forwarded, and so therefore they didn't even know they were supposed to show up for jury duty. So that's creating quite a burden on our staff as well. Yeah.
Oh, Ms. Peters, sorry.
Thank you. How do you select, or do you know how they select for jury and that they know that their addresses are correct?
Driver's
Okay.
license, I think.
Okay.
Any other questions? If we move down to the budget side, it shows that right now, as of today, we are 0.33% over budget, which equates to about $36,000. The majority of this is caused at this point by overtime and corrections. In the month of July alone, there was $31,000 in overtime. Mr. Stauffenberg at the I forget what meeting it was. Might have been the finance meeting. Asked what it would cost, the total cost to hire a CO. And right now, the starting salary is $40,311. Assuming that somebody qualifies for all the incentives such as education, non-tobacco, fitness, and clothing, plus benefits which include FICA, IMRF, insurance, unemployment, work comp. The total for somebody who takes family insurance is $69,345, and a single is $58,572. However, it would be illegal for us to say what kind of benefits are you taking before we hire them. So it's not like we can ask. That is just a cost that is there, that's been negotiated and been approved by the board. So. There's been some more talk apparently about closing the downtown jail, and as we continue to work with the Illinois Department of Corrections, I can tell you that at this time I have no plans to close the downtown jail. Any questions?
Mr. McConnell.
Mr. Chairman, does that basically take it out of the hands of the board?
Yeah, I think I'm responsible for the building.
Okay, before we approve this thing, after watching the news last night, I'm looking here, sent to the department, or sent to prison 203, released 524 on your first page here.
That was last year.
Did anybody watch the news last night with the gun battle between the officers with the dash cam and the stolen vehicle with the other guy shooting
Yeah.
at the officers?
I saw it.
20-year sentence. He was out in 3 years. And that's the second time he's been picked up in, 6 months with a gun, and he's still out on the street. We're doing something really wrong, people. I don't know what the hell, pardon me, what the heck we can do, but, I mean, watching that on national TV, that should open up somebody's mind of what these guys go through every day. I'm sorry.
Hey, but they did show his picture on the media in a cap and gown, but I'm just saying.
Anyway, we have the report. I'll take a motion to approve this report. Mr. McConnell, second by Ms. Polk. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sorry.
That's okay.
Ticked me off.
That's okay.
Vehicle update.
Vehicle update. We brought before this committee before our vehicle situation and the number of vehicles. We have over 100,000 miles, and that number continues to grow every month, including our corrections vans, which this board did forward to the finance committee. And although there was no official action taken, I believe the chairman said that there's money set aside to do this in a 3-year lease. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's not here to confirm that for the second month in a row. Quarterly payment on a lease is $4,593 for 2 vans. Or you can make one payment annually of $18,109.79. $18,109.79. That's for 2. And that's for 3 years. So the $18,000 for 3 years. Does not include any fabrication inside to make the inside secure.
I those have 100,000 warranty on them, the new ones?
Yes.
Thank you.
And a local vendor. A local vendor.
It's been to the finance, but there's nothing.
There was no vote taken. There was just a statement of, yeah, they put some money aside.
You want to make a motion to that?
Yes.
State that again?
We'll find out where the money's at and then appropriate it for the sheriff to follow through on this. we know where the money's at.
Mr. N second that. Discussion. Ms. Peters?
Can you put those numbers together on a sheet to give to the finance committee then? So because every time somebody comes and asks for something, then they're like, they don't have a number, and you have the numbers, so I think that's very helpful. But I believe it was mentioned it was coming out of the contingent fund, that money was in there in the contingent fund.
Mr. Snyder?
Ken?
Now, help me to understand this motion, because I'm hearing like it's a double whammy. One is to find the money. So that doesn't really take a motion, that just takes a, right. So what we're saying is that we are making the motion to send it to finance to appropriate, or are we appropriating, because this...
It was at finance and there was no motion made,
So we're
send it
making
to
the motion.
finance to recommend that they go ahead and get this done.
So we're making the recommendation to finance to appropriate the necessary funding for the, okay, I just want to make sure the motion is clear as we send it to them, so it doesn't come back ambiguous.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Chief McCabe has the sheet that I have from Ford that has the prices on it. I'm going to give it to the chairman, and he can take it to wherever it needs to go.
Mr. Enns, you have a question?
Okay, that same category there, my understanding and listening to the finance committee, which I'm on, and you were there, that you're at the end of the payments for your cars.
Yeah, they're all paid.
They're all paid. So that means that was in your budget for this past year, right?
I don't believe that came out of our budget. I'm not sure where that came out
Okay,
of.
well, it was in the county.
Capital development.
Capital.
Okay. And I really see a need that you need cars.
That's next on my list.
And I would like, since the money was appropriated, it's been in the budget, to get some new cars would be not a new appropriation. And I asked to do this the last meeting, and it didn't get done.
Correct.
I'd like to send this to the finance committee with our recommendation that since the money is already in the budget, and I'd like to request that that be on the agenda of the finance committee.
Mr. Majeff?
Well, there's money appropriated for a lot of things, but that doesn't mean the money's there, because revenues are down. So you have to take that into consideration.
But if we don't have it, if it's not on the finance committee agenda, well then we can't, our hands are tied. We can't really do it here. What do I got to do to get it on the agenda of the finance committee?
Put anything you want on the agenda.
Huh?
You put anything you want on the agenda. Go ahead.
Okay, well, let's put it on there.
Ms. Peters?
I suggest you put your request down in order of importance in case they can approve one and maybe, because he's right, the money is short this year, so even if everybody made their budget, we're still going to be overspending money, which is not good. So that has to be taken into consideration. And then the retrofitting of the vehicles, you said you didn't have those numbers, so make sure to bring those numbers. But we definitely, we know that you have the need, so we definitely need to talk about it in finance.
Night.
I'm saying, one, start the motion, so what we're looking at, we're looking to get the aggregate amount for the vehicle, which includes the retrofit and everything else, and so we need the aggregate amount, and we want to basically put it in itemization, which doesn't require the vote. So what are we asking, as once this is done, that is submitted to finance for this, for their recommendation or approval?
No, Larry wants it on the finance agenda to discuss this at the finance.
Okay, so that's the information that we want him to have when we get into the agenda. So his motion was there, but he didn't get the second, so I'll second his motion to send it to the finance committee.
I don't think we need a motion on that. That's just gonna
You don't
go on
need
the
mo-
agenda.
Well, he had made a motion, so,
Make a request, yeah, that's all you.
okay, so if you make
I
a
mean,
request, then you don't need the motion.
There's the chairman of the finance.
Make a request.
Yeah.
And makes a note of it, and we'll put it on the agenda.
Larry made a request.
I got it.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
To the cars, I do have one price here. I'm waiting on a second. And we're waiting on Chevy because right now we do have Tahoes, as most of you know. I do have a quote from Ford for Explorers. And, you know, we need to determine what is the best bang for our buck when it comes to vehicles. And I will hopefully have that second quote by the next Finance Committee meeting that I can bring to you as well. There's also a lease program as well.
Will your light bars and everything transfer to the Explorers?
No. However, we've been told, and we're trying to verify whether or not they'll even transfer to the new Tahoe, so it's quite the racket.
Well, the new Tahoe is about 3 inches narrower at the top than what they are on the bottom.
Right.
Mr. Legess, sorry.
I think everybody knows, but finance has been changed to September 1st.
Right.
Yes. That actually gives me some more time to get what I need, so
Right.
works
Thank
out
you.
good. Staffing and manpower, as you know, we have 46 deputies, including myself. At the present time, I have 2 off who are having surgery for non-work related issues. I have 2 off on workman's comp for work-related issues. And I have 1 who has indicated to me that he is retiring. I believe his last day is February 25th. At the present time, we have 1 deputy assigned to Impact, which is the schools. As most of you know, last year we had 2. 1 was at Impact and 1 was at RAC, the Regional Alternative School. The Regional Alternative School has indicated that they do not have funds to pay for this deputy. So at this point in time, there is no deputy over at RAC. Questions on that?
Mr. Enns, go ahead.
Does the school fund that deputy?
Yes,
completely?
part of it.
Only part of it?
Yes.
This is probably a bad thing to ask. Can you guesstimate the amount of calls you're going to have to?
Well,
That's a bad question.
you know, and honestly, as we've discussed, it's not the number of calls, it's the time to get there, depending on where our deputies are going to be at on the road. If we don't have one close to town, you could have a fight going on, you could have an assault going on of some nature, and we may be 15, 20 minutes, half hour away.
I'm sorry, I'm
Oh, sorry.
making a note there.
Alternative school, is that one school or is that multiple schools? Is
Multiple
that Indian
schools.
Oaks? And
No, that is
other-
not Indian Oaks.
That's not even Indian Oaks?
No.
You get a lot of calls there?
We do.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Legess?
I mean, schools have budgets too, and apparently they're making a decision that
That's right.
they don't want it.
Exactly right.
So it puts the burden on us, but we can't take the responsibility of paying for the whole thing.
No.
I was more concerned with
I know.
the person that's being assaulted or the teacher. Or,
Who oversees that? What district oversees that?
I can't.
Okay.
Mr. Snipes, sorry.
Then apparently what they're saying is that because their budget is set by, parts of their budget, especially for Kankakee County, is set by us. So under the Regional Office of Education. So if the dollars are allocated there, then they should be utilized there. If those dollars are being cut there, then something should be mentioned to the county board as to why it's being cut, because it still deals with the finance. And if they're getting the cuts, are they getting the cuts from us? And are we in fact jeopardizing their dollars that they allocate towards this, towards this particular officer? So are we, I don't know, because I deal with our regional office of education, and I have not heard where they said that they didn't want a deputy there, so brings up an interesting question as to why this is not being done. So I think it behooves us to try to contact the regional office of education or wherever the superintendent, and basically see if that can be resolved, because it will put a burden on the sheriff department if these kids act. And the problem is you don't know when they act. If the full moon is out there, if the crescent moon, whatever, they might just go off. And if there's no moon, then they really go off. So we have to basically find a way to safeguard our children and the community as well.
Mr. Jeff.
Why don't we invite,
Dr. Murphy?
yeah, to the executive meeting. I think that's his committee, and he can explain to us what's that.
Thank you. Good suggestion.
On the corrections side, we lost another CO. We're down to 93. We have 5 off for one reason or another, including one who is overseas in the military, which brings us down to 88. Hence the reason for so much overtime.
Mr. Enns.
Okay, according to the figures you give us, you're spending about, what, $360,000 in overtime, is that right?
Pretty close. Probably more by the end of the year. Is that accurate, Amy? I mean, if it stays where it's at now.
I mean, that seems to be penny wise and dollar foolish, to be honest with you. But by hiring, it looks to me you could almost hire 4.5 to 5 officers for that amount of money. If you were allowed to do that, do you believe that would eliminate most of that overtime?
It would eliminate a lot of it. You're never going to eliminate all of it just because of things that happen from shift to shift, or part of the reason too that you guys may or may not know is we have recently had, and this isn't the first time this has happened, but when we have an individual who requires hospitalization, depending on what that individual is charged with, we contact the state's attorney's office to try to get that person released from custody. Once he's released from custody, then the bill is no longer ours. Okay? However, the last one we had was an individual who required extensive medical treatment, who we could not get released from custody because of his charges. And those are things that both us and the state's attorney consider when we're trying to do this. I mean, the state's attorney's office, and specifically Ed Pennewick and Bill Dickinson, are very cognizant of that fact and work very well with us to get these people out of jail when they can. However, there are those that we just don't want back out on the street.
When they somebody bad like that and they go into the hospital, do you have to have an officer there?
And that's a lot of our overtime. Yes,
and
24/7.
Okay. I just think we need to look into trying to eliminate some of that if we could, by hiring a couple people. And you may not want to talk about this in an open meeting, but maybe after the meeting I can ask you what's going on with part-time. I know you tried to hire some part-time. I think there was a little trouble. If you don't want to talk about it in the open
there's still a
meeting.
pending grievance. That's where it's at now. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Okay, it hasn't gone nowhere. Okay. And maybe that would quiet the staff a little bit by hiring a couple people and eliminate some of this overtime.
It would help, and the majority of the staff realize it would help. but then there's the people in charge that file the grievance.
All right. Thanks.
Mr. McConnell?
Chairman, don't you have the discretion to hire and fire?
As long as I'm doing it within the rules, I do.
No, I'm saying if following up with Mr. N, $360,000, if you hired two, do you have the discretion to hire those two?
And the last thing I was told was that there's a hiring freeze.
Hiring, I see.
So we're trying to abide by what the board has wished.
Correct.
Unlike others.
Mr. Snipes?
Hiring freeze is somewhat, maybe I objected, but it's somewhat subjective because the law allows them, if they are losing individuals, to replace them as long as they're not exceeding the budget line. The caveat comes in when you don't exceed the budget line as far as the employee, but you raise the bar as far as overtime, which could be offset by hiring some additional officers to offset that high rate of overtime, because the numbers are here and you're paying those numbers, but yet you have a freeze that blocks me from doing that because I can't go over the budget, though the overtime carries me over the budget. What I'm looking at is some kind of way here we're playing semantics, and we kind of need to look at, the greater good. And that means if we are at 360, considering that if we hire and it can bring that number down, or whether it do us a better justice to do such, we should be able to make that argument from here. And I know it goes through the terrible teeth of the finance department, but anyone that's looking at numbers and they're paying that number out would have to take an intelligent approach and say, yes, it's costing us this, and we can offset this by doing this, so therefore we will allow this. And the way you justify it is because the number of 360,000 is real. The number to hire the sunshine was 40, but with the benefits of 69. So you're looking at 69, 345. I mean, even if I hired two to offset some of that 360,000, is a good accounting decision. Is a good management decision. And I think somewhere along the lines we need to look at that so that that can happen.
Any other comments?
A couple things real quick. The ordinance requests. There are two laws, or actually one law that's changed. The cannabis law, most of you have heard about it on the news. Anything less than 10 grams of marijuana needs to be done through an ordinance violation as opposed to bringing them to jail. That's a positive for our local jail census, but we do require an ordinance to do that. Could be some sort of revenue generator as well. I'm not sure how much. We have sent that to the state's attorney's office. We've heard nothing back yet, and that went into effect when? Ken? They go into, was it June or July or something? Yeah, July 1st, I believe. The other issue that we are going to send to the state's attorney is a solicitor ordinance. And for those of you that live in municipalities, most of your municipalities have some sort of an ordinance that anybody who is going door to door has to get a solicitor license, and that costs money. We get a number of calls of people going door to door in the county that we have to respond to, because obviously people are doing the right thing and saying, is this legit? So we have to respond to those calls as well. So we are going to be in search of a solicitor ordinance for the county that we're going to be working on, hopefully with the state's attorney's office, to get that done as well. Just thought you guys should know about it.
Tonight.
That door-to-door would exempt the politicians during election time.
Yeah, I don't think you need a solicitor license, I think you need a BS license. So.
Is that same for Bob Snyder? No.
Mr. Wojciechowski.
Exactly.
I think the solicitor does exempt anything under the First Amendment. In other words, the Latter-day Saints or anybody that goes around with the religious,
Right, I believe this is if you're selling something.
Yeah.
I think it's if you're selling something.
Yeah. I think it's-
Yeah, the church people that come to your door. Yep.
So we don't need action on either one of those from this
No,
committee?
we're just letting you know that
Okay.
we're trying to get this done, so. And last but not least, our fiscal year 2017 budget. I'd like to say I saved the best for last, but that would be a lie. If you recall, our sheriff's budget, which includes the sheriff's side, corrections, EMA, our merit commission, and certs, the last two, which are very minimal. In 2015, the total was $12,460, approximately 572, $12,460, 572. In 2016, our total is $10,903. And from what we are going to require to maintain what we have in 2017 is going to be $11,452. And that's an increase of about $549,000. And that is due mainly in part to the fact that the pipeline detail will be gone. That also includes us not replacing an administrator.
Is that, are you talking million or are you talking thousand?
549,000.
But you said 12,000, you meant
Oh,
12 million.
12 million.
Okay, here we go. Mr. Lee,
Hey, I wanted to adopt that.
That'd have been a hell of a budget.
Adopt that $11,000 budget.
I apologize. Let's back up.
yeah, I'm
So in
looking at these-
2015, it was $12,460,572. In 2016, it was $10,903,000. And in 2017, to maintain what we have, would be $11,452,800, or an increase of $549,800.
Okay, hang on.
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Ridge,
Yeah, there is two subcommittees of the Finance Committee that is going to meet with all the department heads, and there will be I think it's a 4-member committee that'll meet with Sheriff Downey.
Okay.
And they'll get with you and figure out
Well,
a time and.
We just wanted to throw those numbers out there.
Oh, yeah.
The sooner the better, that we know what we're
Yeah.
dealing with.
Yeah, and we
I
understand.
think it's important for everybody.
We understand what the needs are. You know, the big thing is predicated on what the revenue looks like for the next year. That's the whole key.
Mr. McConnell.
That was my question, Sheriff. In your little crystal ball, with the increase in inmates, do you think that's going to be enough to come close to the budget with the increase in?
You know,
I know you can't.
yeah,
I
it
understand
is
that.
hard to predict, and even knowing
I
as
get
much
that.
as we know about the trend and all that,
Yeah.
eh,
But you said in your statement that you thought this would continue, and
I'd like to say I think we
Yeah.
bottomed out,
yeah,
if that helps. I don't think that we'll go, and I think potentially, and this may be a year or two down the road, but I think a change in national administration might help. Then again, it might hurt. So
that's which way it goes.
Go ahead, Mr. Enns.
Okay, you're losing the pipeline people you were saying.
yes,
Okay, I have a question. Have you approached the wind farm for any kind of protection? Because I know the past wind farm, they had several issues out there. Are we gonna be, maybe to pick up somebody for the wind farm, or do you know?
I don't know at this point. Nobody's contacted us, and we haven't contacted them. We haven't heard of any issues, so.
Okay, because I know they had issues. They had machines broken and everything the last time.
Right.
Maybe if we could contact them, it might behoove them to have somebody out there. Just an idea.
Okay, the last few things I have are just informational items that I think this committee needs to be aware of. There has been some talk out there by particular board members who are looking to shut this inmate program down for whatever reason. I don't know what that reason is, but I can tell you that before I give you the numbers, I can tell you that from our standpoint, the prior administration standpoint, and more than likely any future administration standpoint, if something isn't benefiting the county financially, we are not going to stand up here and say, let's keep doing it. Give us a little more credit than that. The numbers that we have as of June, and I'll just go over these real quick, and hopefully I'll use the right denomination this time. Our direct jail expense estimated for 2016, which includes the jail expense, it includes utilities, it includes liability, which is another hot topic for some board members, and it includes our staff benefits, which is another hot topic for some board members, which includes insurance, IMRF, FICA, all those things that employees that cost the county money. Our total jail expense is $12,043,618.
Say that again, please.
$12,043,618.68. It's a heck of a projection. Start getting 68 cents in there. Our local total jail expense of that 12 million is $8,845,707.06.
One more time.
$8,845,707.06. The total jail costs for out-of-county inmates, including all those, the jail expense, utility, liability, staff expenses, and we're probably putting more money in on the liability side than we should, but since that's an issue for some, we included more. The total jail expense for out-of-county inmates is $3,197,911.62. That's $3,197,911.62. When you deduct that money, that $3,197,000 from our estimated revenue at this point of $5.2 million, you have a total cost savings to the taxpayer. And I repeat, cost savings, not profit, John. You and I.
We'll let our managers decide.
Yeah, I hear you. Is $2,041,000 of total cost savings. So for those that are out there contemplating shutting this program down, we probably need to look for another $2 million. Questions on that? All right. Now, as I come to you with problems, I'm a firm believer in coming with solutions. And I have 3 for you. There is a company out there called Bellwether LLC. They are a company that reviews fees. And as most of you know, our court security fee does not cover the cost of what it costs us to provide courthouse security, which is obviously one of the main functions of the sheriff's office. It also reviews jail fees as well. To give you some sort of comparison, this company did a study in Vermilion County, which when you start talking about comparables, that's Danville, Illinois, for those that may not know where Vermilion is. And for when you start looking at comparable counties, Vermilion and Kankakee are very similar in all comparables and demographics and all that. Pat Hartshorn is the sheriff of Vermilion County, and this company helped them increase their revenues by over $400,000. Now there is a cost for them to come in and do this. Ranges anywhere between $10,000 and $12,000. But I think to spend $10,000 or $12,000 to generate over 400 is a decision that you money people can figure out. Questions on that?
Mr. Legess.
Do they look at booking fees too?
Yeah, jail fees, yes. My second,
Mr.
I'm sorry.
McConnell.
You gonna send this to finance?
I can,
Well, they'd have to approve it.
yeah.
Thank you.
Just tell Diane, she's here.
Writing it down.
Okay, my second solution, and this is one I'm not real fond of, and I haven't even talked to the jail administrator yet, so you might see a shooting in here. These are e-cigs. Ken, don't get too excited back there. These are e-cigs. There are jails across the state of Illinois that literally sell these to the inmates on their commissary account. Unfortunately, I've not been able to confirm a number yet, and I only have the number from the salesman, and we all know what those people tell you. So this guy indicated to me that a jail our size could generate about $10,000 a month. A month. Well, the downside on our end is just a health issue. I mean, do we want to contribute to somebody's bad habit? I think in the shape the county's in, I think that's probably, I think we already know the answer. Just an option, and I know Chief Collins back there going, what the heck is he doing up there?
I watched you say what you said that.
So, another idea, and these are, like I said, I'm not a big problem guy. I'd much rather work on a solution than a problem. So, these are problems and solutions that we're continually working on. The third one, and
Again, Sheriff, is that in your discretion to do?
oh yeah, this isn't anything board-wise that we need done. I just want to make you aware of it, because I'm sure there'll be some criticism out there from somebody, which I can take. I got thick skin. So, so the third and final one, probably the most controversial, is I would suggest combining the Court Services Committee meeting with the Public Safety Committee meeting. We separated these committees 2 years ago, and as we're all looking to save money, based on the per diems and the number of meetings, that's another $8,000 to $10,000 a year that we can save. You see Tom Latham here, he's the highest paid person in the county. So we're paying him to sit at this meeting, and sorry, Tom, sorry. But we're paying him to sit in this meeting because our jobs affect each other. I go to the Court Services Committee meeting. Our jobs interact with the state's attorney's office. Our jobs interact with the circuit clerk's office. Our jobs interact with the judicial. Why it got split up has yet to be answered. But I think if we're all on board and trying to save money, regardless of how little, I think that's a legitimate request that I'm sure our employees would appreciate.
I could answer one part. I was against it, the word go, but some of the meetings were going so long, the judges and that were still sitting here when they were supposed to be at the courthouse.
Well, I can tell you the last 2 court services meetings I attended lasted 15 minutes.
I agree. I'm just telling you what the
Well, we've been here an hour,
Thank you.
and it's just Bob and I. So another 15 minutes, I don't think is going to hurt anybody, but that's,
Mr. Wejets?
Well, I would imagine in December we'll have a new chairman, and we'll probably at that time have, committee assignments and discussions on what to combine and what not. So I imagine that'll be brought up at that time.
it's the best I got today.
Questions, comments for the sheriff?
When I served back in 1990, 92, we did have the sheriff judicial and state's attorney committee or whatever, and we let the judges go first, so it did allow them.
They've always went
And they
first.
still do.
That's what I'm saying, so it allows them to do what they have to do and then go, so I don't see any problem with it.
Any other questions or comments for the sheriff? Don't forget to get your cookbooks.
Jailhouse recipes. There, just for the record, there are no recipes in here for hooch.
Okay, moving on. Do we have any other, Mr. Wejets?
I just had a comment. I understand what the state passed as far as how much cannabis you can have on you, and it's a misdemeanor and all that. But at the same time, in the coroner's report, he said that they're finding a lot of cannabis on people. I mean, you wonder sometimes if we're not sending the wrong message, that it's okay, and then people, of course, if you're using, you're going to take that to an extreme, and say, what the hell? If I can have a couple, what the hell? I can have as much as I want.
Always a better high.
Yeah.
Follow the Colorado statistics, since they have medical marijuana. Follow their accidents and everything else. I'm sorry, you should have answered that.
I'm good. Good answer.
Anything else for the sheriff? Okay, thank you, everybody. Any other business come before the committee? Any other business? Any old or new business? Take a motion to adjourn, Mr. Leggett, second by Ms. Pope. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Go Cubs.